Staying with discussions on state police, and one of our team tonight, the Inspector General of Police, IGP, Kayode Egbetokun, believes the country is not mature for state policing despite the myriad of security challenges facing it. He spoke during the National Dialogue on State Police held in Abuja. The IGP argued, among other factors, that there is the potential for abuse of power by the state political leadership. He stated that state governors could use the police force under their control for political or personal gain and undermine human rights and security. To shed further light on the issue of state policing, I'm joined now by a security expert, Ahmed Husaini. Ahmed, thank you very much for giving us your time. This is not a new conversation, but now the IGP is saying that the country is not ready for state policing. What's your thoughts on his comments?
The position of the Inspector General of Police is not a new one, and it's not a surprise, because ordinarily you would expect actually Nigerian police to try to preserve their monopoly of internal law enforcement. So it is just the police just trying to protect its own turf, because knowing fully well that when state police is actually implemented, then it's going to actually cede some powers to individual states, and that will actually affect the Nigerian police in terms of its powers and overreach, either constitutionally or extra constitutionally. So it's nothing surprising. We would expect them, and this has also always been the position of the Nigerian police. Even when the Nigerian Civil Defense was established, the police has always been, opposed to it. But the thing is, we wouldn't be having this kind of conversation if the Nigerian police, is actually adequately, responding to its responsibility. If the Nigerian police is, adequately, securing the country and fulfilling its, constitutional responsibility of securing the country internally, then we won't be having this kind of conversation. So the fact that we're having this conversation and the police is coming to oppose it is in itself an indictment on the Nigerian police force. And
I'm sorry to interject. His concerns, I mean, we see what plays out at the local level in politics, for instance, power of incumbency and other issues. One of the concerns he raised was the possible colonization of the police in these states by the political leadership. That is a valid concern that everybody talks about. Is it not strong enough consideration for us to think about, have a rethink, or maybe put in other measurements of control before we talk about state police?
Absolutely, the fear of abuse is actually well-founded. I do not dispute that. But we also have abuse in our current federal police structure. So the problem here is, we've seen what state governors have done with, in the state electoral commissions. We've seen what state governors have done with state legislatures and the state judiciary. Of course, there is that fear of abuse. But the thing is, that should not actually make us to fear reforms like this. It is only for us not to learn lessons. What have gone wrong in other reforms where more powers have been devolved to the governors or to the states at subnationals, and then how are you going to develop adequate strategies and institutionalize adequate frameworks to ensure that such abuse or these reforms like the state police is actually insulated from the potential abuses like the one we've been having with other reforms processes. So that's just the idea. Just as the truth. So we have to find a way to actually insulate, state police from these potential abuses. And there are a lot of actually, mechanisms that we can do that. We can do that through some kind of independent oversight. We can do that, through some kind of, point-based, rating that is tied to, how we fund federal and international funding. We can do that actually also by, trying to set some international standard and create some certain metrics to ensure how, around some certain set of criteria like human rights, compliance with the rule of law, capacity building and training, and quality of law enforcement generally. We can set those standards and tie them to how we fund the police at both the federal level and even in terms of international grants and other forms of funding and collaboration and incentives to ensure that the state police are actually being able to actually play by the rules and uphold the rule of law.
I think his argument is basically not holding forth, but his argument is basically that we are not ready. And then he is putting forward a suggestion that I'd like your thought on. He's saying that NSCDC and the FRSC could be merged into the police instead of establishing a state police. And I think the rationale is to increase the manpower that is available for the discharge of their responsibility. What's your thinking on the potential benefits and drawback of this proposal from a security analyst's perspective, of course?
So interestingly, I've been personally advocating for merging the Nigerian Civil Defense and the FRSC, with the Nigerian Police in order to actually show up the numbers. But then we also have to ask this question to the Nigerian Police Force, like, what have they been able to do with their current resources? Because we have this problem of corruption and inefficiency. Yeah, according to the UN, we should have like one police officer to 450 citizens. In Nigeria, we have one police officer to even more than 1,000 citizens. If you look at, the number of police force, we have around 370,000. If we look at the fact that 40% of those are actually into VIP protections. Now, if you go around, most of those states, the mobile police squadrons are adequately trained, to combat crimes like even banditry that we're facing in some parts of the north. Most of those numbers, if you go to these mobile police squadrons, you won't be actually having them at full capacity because about half or more than half of them have been actually deployed to Abuja or Lagos or Port Harcourt, guarding some oil companies and VIPs while leaving, ordinary Nigerians to actually bear the brunt of insecurity. So effectively, they are being used by Nigerian police to actually generate revenues that, the top echelons may end up benefiting. So these are some of the issues. Like, we have to ask Nigerian police, what have they been able to do with their current resources? Have they been able to use it judiciously, adequately? Then that will actually make a case for, increasing the numbers. Because if you keep increasing the numbers and they keep deploying the numbers to actually generate revenue or to actually make money for the top guns, and then at the end of the day, the ordinary Nigerians are left to suffer, from that gap created by lack of resources and inadequate manpower, then we are not actually addressing the problem. We are actually entrenching corruption and inefficiency within the system. And that's exactly what we are trying to actually eliminate or reduce with the concept of state or community policing. I'm not against or for community policing because you have both arguments for or against. Both advocates and opponents actually have valid arguments, but it's only for us to now choose one side and say, okay, how are we going to actually build up on that and improve, on the state of things that we have currently.
Ahmed, thank you very much, as always, for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.